Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to have you back, and I see so many familiar faces already joined on this early Friday morning in December. Welcome back to the EIP-AGRI farm data workshop and how farm data can support farm performance. I'm happy that so many made it back from a long working day yesterday, because we really emphasized the work in workshop, and this morning we will do the same thing. So it's not going to be a sort of laid back event webinar. No, this is one more additional working morning workshop. So I hope everyone joined. I saw that we had I think 70% back of the participants, and I hope that people grab their coffees and log in. I hope there's not so many login problems. We're using the same Zoom link as yesterday. And what you see on the screen now is the flow of the workshop. We went from setting the scene, where are we now, to exploring the current initiatives and projects that many of you are involved in. And we ended with an open space discussion where we went from current projects to, well, sort of matchmaking, brokerage, touching on each other's wishes, needs, and initiatives, to looking for the future. And that's what we are going to do further on today. Not a brokerage event, but focusing on the farm data solutions and needs, so that by the end of this morning, we will leave each other with a sort of common understanding of the scope of the topic, which is in fact very broad, and that's what we found out yesterday as well. But we also found out there's a very nice set of common topics and things that will need to be tackled in the next years. Coming back to this morning, reporting back. But before I say that, I think many of you remember my name, Albin Hunia, and I will be your host this morning. And that is mainly watching time and talking the little bits of your work together, including the technicalities. But the technicalities went very well yesterday. I think most of the microphones remained muted. I didn't see so many cats walking on keyboards. I think all the kids behaved nicely in the background. Yeah, I think everyone found the chat as a sort of central point for exchanging ideas and asking questions. Please remain doing that. It works really well, and I think we all got responses very quickly. I need to remind you that the plenary discussions will be recorded, because that is the real gist, and the conclusions are there, and that's something that we like to share on our YouTube channel. The discussions that we do in the breakout rooms, which is always a bit searching and personal, and opinions, is of course not recorded and will not be distributed for sharing outside. What we will do this morning first is looking back at the open space project market that we did yesterday afternoon. And what I will do is I will call upon the people that hosted it or that agreed to report back from the open space room. A bit tricky, because I have no overview on who is actually in the room already. So I'll just start calling room 1, which discussed farmer education and empowerment, as you probably remember. Is Tom Kelly here to report back on what happened shortly? And I will just skip and come back if this, is there anyone else from room 1 that can and will report back? I will go to room 2, making data relevant and valued by farmers, John Gilliland.
Good morning. I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yes, John, that's very good. Thanks. Can you give us an overview of what happened?
Certainly. Well, first of all, can I start by thanking both the facilitators and also the participants. We had a very good conversation, and as usual, we ran out of time. which is always a sign that there was a very energetic and engaging conversation. So thank you to all, and I hope what I'm going to report back is a reflection of what we talked about. So our topic was making data relevant and valued by farmers, and I was guilty of proposing it. And my reason for proposing it is in Ireland, I had seen with my farming colleagues and myself that there was a hesitation of farmers sharing particularly soil data around soil fertility, soil phosphate, because they were worried that the regulator would have it and would get hold of it, and then they would be restricted from what they could do with farm manures and farm organic matters. And so this issue of data, there was a negative connotation. So really what I want to say is, how could I make it relevant and valued by farmers so farmers would share it? So that sort of was a barrier that we felt we needed to overcome. And the second barrier that came up was that a lot of big tech companies and machinery companies are collecting a lot of data for their own purpose and profiting on the back of that. But farmers felt insecure that that data wasn't coming back to them. They weren't having their permissions sought, and they weren't able to actually use it for their benefit. So really, I started off by asking a question. Has anyone else seen this problem? Is this just an Irish problem? This idea of fear of sharing data and not understanding the benefits. And we got two totally different answers. The first one actually came from the northwest of Spain, where the example that was given there is in the northwest of Spain, a lot of livestock farmers would use agricultural contractors with big new harvesters. And these harvesters had near infrared machinery that measured yield and forage quality. And this data was being then snapped up by the machinery manufacturer and used by the machinery manufacturer, but no one was seeking the farmer's permission. Nobody was downloading that information to the farmer. And there was a ticking time bomb there that when farmers realized that their own information was being harvested without their permission, and being used commercially by other people, and they had no benefit. On the other hand, we had a very good project from Wales. In Wales, a community fund had been created after some community flooding, and that fund was paying for a consultant to go out and seek permission from farmers to sample their soils, look at compaction of soils, how could water be looked after better on farm, held up on farm to stop community flooding. And the farmers were getting all the soil sampling analysis done. They were getting the information fed back, and they had total engagement. There was total trust in that situation because there was a community benefit. It was being funded by the community, and everybody got the benefit of it. And it was totally transparent. So we had two totally different feedbacks from that. And when we then looked at how do we actually make it more relevant as such, what it felt was that farmers would like somebody to be a custodian of their data, someone they could trust to make sure it was only used for the purposes that were initially agreed with the farmers. Farm associations could act probably as a custodian or a gatekeeper, but also to that when we actually go to present the data, it's really important that the data is presented in small bite-sized chunks, that you just don't download all the data and just smother them, and that it was really important that this data was done in a way that could be consumed properly in the farmer's own time, but it also allowed them to benchmark their own progress against their peers so that there was a relevance to it. They could understand it, they could be baselined. So our three main highlights out of it was, how farmers are approached to have their data collected is key. Being transparent upfront about what the data is being collected, why it's being collected, and what the benefit is to the farmer is far better than gathering data without their knowledge and others profiting with it without any financial benefit to the farmer. The use of data custodians or gatekeepers for farmers' data to make sure it's only used for the purposes agreed for, when permission is given, would be very welcome addition. And lastly, how the data is analysed and communicated back to farmers is key. Doing it in bite-sized chunks, clear benefit to farmer, communicated by people who can answer very direct or specific questions from farmers, and how this information will make their decision-making better so that they can be a more efficient farmer and still reduce their environmental footprint. So I just want to thank you. Hopefully that reflects what took place in our room.
Well, I'm truly impressed by the fact that you managed to go from the not so good examples to the good examples and get these kind of conclusions out of an afternoon of talking. I also feel that this surely touches on the discussions that were done in the other meeting rooms. So I hope by the end of today, we can bring all these little bits in the breakout rooms that will follow next into a set of recommendations and conclusions and, well, things to further explore. Truly impressed, John. Thank you very much for this one. I understood that for room 1, and maybe this is very surprising for Tom, who just checked in. Oh, I see now a message. Tom is struggling to connect. I will come back to him and he will probably manage. Can I go to room 3, where data analysis was discussed, and Rafael Gonzalez is possibly in the room to report back, or someone else from the group? Wow, Rafael, good to see you. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Alvin. First of all, I would like I really appreciate the work done by the facilitators and also for the rest of the members of the group. In our case, we were commenting on a lot of topics related to data analysis, and part of the comments and highlights that have been done by John in room 1 were talked during yesterday in our group. In any case, we launched 3-4 questions that we were talking about, and they were, first of all, data are more adequate. The second question was how to integrate data into research. Next, what we need data for, and finally, what are our goals and what kind of data are we going to use. As a consequence of this, we reported 4 main highlights. In first place, about data collection, we considered that it was necessary some kind of standardization, but that was a problem, not only for private companies, but also for public ones and public institutions. And in the case of the European Union, some of the facilitators, and sorry, I don't remember the name, told us that from the European Union institutions, they have done great efforts to reach some kind of standardization, but unfortunately, member states were not for that. So that has been a problem that is affecting all of us. The second highlight is related to questionnaires and the importance of surveyors. Surveyors are a key factor. According to that, we need surveyors must be an experienced and trustworthy person for farmers, because some farmers are reluctant to share information, and not only information, sometimes they give false or untrue information that can damage not only the results of the research of the project, but also themselves, if we are talking about regulation policies and so on. In next, about the data selection, according that we are managing tons and tons of data, it's necessary to look, compare, and choose those data. And according to the aim of the analysis we are going to perform, and it's very important to get the biggest return to farmers. And finally, about data ownership, we consider that farmers, in a general way, they are not really aware of how valuable and useful the data can be. And that's all for our group here.
think this is going really well. Thanks, Raphael, for wrapping up the discussion on data analysis. Quickly go through to room 3, where Hubert Gerardi, if I pronounce it right, discussed with a group of people business models. Gerard, Hubert, can you enlighten us on the discussion of yesterday afternoon?
Okay, good morning to all. Thank you to all the participants and the facilitators yesterday. We have had a very interesting discussion, and we looked at the business models and the data from different angles. And I would like to give you a small impression. In general, farmers produce food and deliver or sell data and have data, however we will define it. So we discussed some examples, data or information on production process or on the product is creating an added value at the sales counter. So that's typical. We use data to support decision-making of the farmers. Then we noticed that the big technology providers have often the ownership of the data produced by the items they sold. So that's very easy to say, we want to have the data, and the data are owned by the farmers. And we notice in Scandinavia and as well as in Germany that very often the big players own the data and we haven't access, as neither as researchers or as a farmer. So that's a situation. And now we, with respect to business model and maybe a little bit different to the other ones, we asked why not to extend the profile of products of farmers. Farmers produce meat, potatoes, pork, and whatever. And so this question is, why not to produce farmer data? And to see it from a different angle. And usually we speak about the data to support the decision-making of the farmers. And why not to create the product data to support stakeholders to increase the value of their products or even to develop their products. So we have to consider the benefit of merged data, for example, of the health status and the production efficiency for the pharmaceutical industry. Or imagine the benefit of merged data of a stable climate and health status for retailer and consumers. And so we have 3 highlights to say we have to take in mind that the big technology providers often have the ownership of the data. So the next one is, if we consider data, maybe we have to work in farmers' corporations. And the third one is to develop all this kind of a market-driven business models. What do we have to consider? So not to increase the efficiency of feed conversion or to increase daily gains. So to say, to increase the value of data to support the business of the stakeholders. And to develop such kind of business models, we thought to have to take in mind who are the partners, who are the stakeholders we are working with. We would like to supply the data. What data? So it's not the sense of only of the farmers, it's in the sense of the stakeholders. What kind of sources? And then what of the content? What are they in which information are they interested? We have to consider the costs, the benefits, and the cost-benefit analysis to provide such kind of data as in extending the profile of products of the farm. So that's briefly what we discussed yesterday.
Thanks, Hubert. And I think I saw already in the chat people reacting to your and the other reports that they find it very interesting. I think the reports are great, and it also shows that the discussions were very fruitful. Thanks Then we go on to room 6, or no, we go to room 5, where Luis, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Portuguese name, barriers to farmers' adoption of digital technologies. Can you enlighten us on the discussion, please, Luis?
Good morning, Alvin.
Good
morning, everyone. It's not so difficult to spell it. Luis Conceição. So, to resume our session, first let me thank you to the host, Mr. Jan Svijver, and also to the colleagues, Celine Karinski and Katrian, I suppose, Odenart. So, in practice, I will share it 2 slides PowerPoint just to resume it and to be the more succinct I can. We have the topic of the barriers to farmers' adoption of digital technologies and the reluctance to share their data. So why don't they share, especially small farmers? Why are they so reluctant to share data? And we achieved as barriers, one way, problems, cultural procession and some technical procession of the problem. In terms of cultural procession, we found that several times farmers continue to have a classical way of thinking in the way that what is mine, and so it's a secret. They don't want to share it with others because also they are somehow mistrust for the consequence of the sharing of that data. So they don't trust very much in that in data privacy, and effectively they are suspicious of what is going to happen or who is going to make money with the data they are going to share. On the other hand, in the point or in the technical procession, we found that there are many digital tools, but sometimes we still find some compatible problems of the linking and merging the different origins of the data. And also, in different equipments, in different machinery, we still have less friendly user technology that also doesn't help very well the farmer to have the data and to share it. So how can we encourage data sharing? In one way, in fact, there is a saying that the need sharpens the ingenuity. And I suppose, and we found it yesterday also, that, for instance, COVID situation put us all together around digitization. It was almost mandatory. We don't think that should be for the sharing data. But in fact, sometimes the need sharpens the ingenuity. So as possible solutions, and the ones we wanted to highlight are 3. In one way, the use of lighthouse farms and farm-to-farm exchange as a way to remove barriers to data sharing involving farmers and research and results of the experiments, to put together farmers, researchers, and to know them what data can bring to them. Secondly, build more user-friendly systems, and in third place, provide non-monetary incentives, for example, providing practical incentives as measures such agro-environmental measures, carbon farming, external motivation, increasing resilience of the farm, so that in fact they can be more suitable and more free of its own to know what they have in hands and what they can share with the others.
Thanks, Luis. I hope that we can all bring all these topics together in the breakout session of this morning and see how we can really formulate solutions. Thank you. Quickly go on to Paul Launch for room 6, where the topic of data readiness for decision making and data integration was discussed. Paul, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Albin, thank you. So yeah,
Can you share your screen? Is it possible? Yeah. Yeah. Good morning.
Yeah, if you wish, I have some notes here, but I don't know whether this will help. Anyway, I'll try to share.
I'll just quickly go through them, and then that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take. Yeah, that's it. Right. So these are the notes that were taken by the facilitators of the discussion, which I acknowledge their effort, because I think it ended up with a fruitful discussion. Altogether, we were a group of, I think, 7 or 8 people. And so a couple of important outcomes arise from the discussion. So as the topic intended to address, that was data readiness for decision-making and data integration. But I have to say that we stick more on data readiness for decision-making than the data integration. So the discussion started on a very basic question, which I think is something that we should ourselves ask it before starting any process of creating new data, is how can farmers benefit from digitalization services? So that should be the first question to address. And it was proposed that the strategy is to address farmers first, ask what is the problem and how much they, I mean, for instance, money, but in other resources can be what is their interest to get this problem solved. The problem arises when sometimes if data is being created by people with minimal expertise on data analysis, we can be even limited on understanding the full potential of our data. That makes that we may not be able to explain what are the available solutions to farmers, because at some point we may not be even aware ourselves or of what we can offer. That is something that perhaps more collaborations between data scientists and people with backgrounds on agriculture, veterinary science, livestock, etc., would be beneficial. But then we jump to a second point, which is the availability of data. And that is perhaps one of the identified bottlenecks we have discussed in that meeting. And not only the quantity of data being collected to infer good predictions or identification of problems, but also the quality of existing data. So, and saying specifically that a huge amount of data has to perfectly be organized, so data can be shared efficiently. Then it was also mentioned that Europe is very heterogeneous in the different production systems. Also, the ways data is being collected may differ according to, for instance, technologies used. So that makes that we have this very heterogeneous origin of data, and we could perhaps look for an holistic approach, intending not to solve individual problems. For instance, there was an example on dairy cattle that we want to identify and therefore solve lameness in cattle, but to take the whole farm all together, and because maybe lameness is associated to other problems such as mastitis, and that also reflects meal production. So this holistic approach was found to be important. Also, then we progressed on how the agricultural database should be organized. There were some opinions that we should go altogether in Europe to a common database collecting data from different systems, regions, etc. And actually the example of the national health systems in different countries has been organized to then help solving human health issues. We should perhaps go towards the same strategy and construct this big database that would help us on address many different problems. Finally, we ended up with suggesting a methodology which is blockchain to increase trustiness and harmonization of data, despite there was some hesitance on the route that this is the correct strategy. So the main highlights of the group was that we need data harmonization and as larger as possible, even at an European level. Companies, governments should create the standards on how data is being collected. Also, there is a need of federated databases for different regions and production systems, and data should not be used for single solutions, but use it on holistic way. And that's it from our group. I hope I summarized it properly.
I'm amazed at the richness of the discussions and the conclusions that we got yesterday afternoon. And I see some reactions in the chat and in the technical group of the support team, and we're all really amazed at what happened yesterday. Looking at the time, perhaps it's wise not to share the notes, although they are very valuable and they will be used for the reporting after the workshop. So thank you very much, and I see all reactions in the chat that people really appreciate the reports so far. So the expectations are high. Valentino, can you call back on what happened in room 7 involving farmers in the innovation process? And it's difficult to stress that we need to move on with the program, but on the other hand, what's happening is very valuable. So I won't push you too much. Thanks, Valentino.
Thank you. I will try to be as quick as possible. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants yesterday to our room and the facilitators, which did an amazing job. We were quite big room, and we had a very interesting debate. Going into the topic, our room was involving farmers into the innovation process, and it all started from my question from the board, where I asked, despite technologies and precision farming techniques are nowadays largely available and well known, we experience a kind of a resistance in involving farmers in our innovation process. What I mean is that, in our opinion, farmers are the main actors in the innovation, in setting the innovation goals for their own farm. So the question was, how can we better engage them in the innovation design process itself? Some valid ideas came already from the ideas board, where Philip gave us some point of view. He said farmers tend to profit only from the innovation result. And also Isabel, she said it's quite difficult because the topic of all farmers have to take care are many. So some of these topic came also in our room, and the point who came out as first was that the first way to get farmers motivated is to show them clearly the benefits of innovation and precision farming. Also, something that has been working well in some of the groups is that showing other farmers can show the result of using using technologies and innovations and getting benefit from. Still, there is a problem about this because sometimes precision farming, the benefits from precision farming and innovation in technology are not always tangible benefits. Sometimes we need years, we need long term to get some results. Sometimes the effects of such an innovation management touches topics like a better quality of food, better quality of farm management, or a better harmony in the field itself. So it's not always easy to provide some clear result. Also, sometimes precision farming doesn't involve a decreasing cost, but it might require to do something differently, better. So what it came out from our room was the main topic was how to boost motivation in farmers themselves to be active actors of the innovation process design itself. Some very good suggestions came from some project from north of Italy. Specifically, we have been, what came out was that we have to really look at farmers' needs. They have different set of needs, such as sustainability, certification, traceability, which are also kind of new set of needs, which we will need to look very carefully. Also, mindset of farmers is very important, but also education is a key factor. So supporting with farmers with education can really boost and give a great result on this. Another good share of result was from Bianca from Italy, which gave us her experience. What they experience is that unifying farmers, so getting farmers group rather than one single farm, make them feel they are working for a common goal. So this really boosts the motivation in getting into innovation processes. So getting farmers as a group, like farmers from one region or farmers which have similar kind of companies, work sites, can really help into motivation for getting into this innovation process. Also, another result was that another factor really working and having a positive impact on this is putting farmers together. If farmers can show, farmers who got some result can show other farmers how they use the innovation and how they get benefits from, which is not always tangible benefit, but something that can be expressed, is something that can really help in this kind of process. Thank you, everybody who took part to the debate yesterday.
Again, I'm impressed. Thank you, Valentino. This really shows why a workshop is more than just creating a report. This is the joint conclusions of working and sitting together. Amazing. There's 2 more rooms to go. Room 8, where Josep Pijuan, I'm trying to being pan-European. And then room 1, Tom Kelly are reporting back. We'll be going a little bit over the program time, but this is amazingly valuable. So please, Josep, take us to the topic of room 8. That is small, medium farmers, eh?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Well, our topic was how to involve small and medium farmers in the data economics and to fill the gap between large and these small and medium farmers. First of all, let me thank you also the facilitators and all the people involved in our room. I will try to summarize a bit. We started with just describing how we see this small and medium farm community, that we thought that they are focused on their task in order to produce and achieve good production, but usually they don't have time to think in this innovation. So they think that maybe it's a distraction. Then we also highlighted that there is problems on a technology gap in the capacities on the skills of the old people, that is mainly this small community and farmers and so on. There was also one comment very interesting, that should be differentiated the small and traditional farming than the precision farming. And we highlighted that maybe for these small and medium farms, it is not needed such a detail that precision farming is targeting, but just collecting data that could facilitate their work. It could be a very good improvement on the results that they could achieve. Then for the availability of technology, usually the new sensors and this kind of precision farming technology is not cheap, so it's expensive. And we propose also to create some kind of cooperative approach to share material, to share sensors, to share this kind of devices and technology. But when we were talking about it, also trying to think in sharing these devices between countries, we face that we have language barriers. That it's not it's the reality of Europe. So we have different countries with different languages that the tools have to think about when they are designed and so on. And we propose also that the interoperability and the use of standards should face this issue. But this is something that is not well maybe work yet. And I know that there are several studies and development of standards, Gaia-X and ontology and so on to face this part. But this is on the go. Also for the machinery, there are the ISOBUS and so on. But this is not well adopted for all the farmers. And also another topic was why a small farmer that has a machine that is working perfectly have to change it, because it adds this new technology of precision farming. Is it really needed by them? So maybe we also should propose some other business models like tuning the current machines or adapting with new technologies the old ones. Maybe it's more feasible for them. Okay. And also one of the other barriers that we face that are the different regulations that each of the countries have, because they are different in many things. So this could be also a barrier for the changing data and devices and adapting the devices for at least for the technology providers. And just to summarize, we made a list of 4 points. I will read it because they were very well written. So there is a fear to share data in general, and it is a general problem. It's in several European countries, and not only for small-scale farmers. This may be tackled by proper education and data systems, basic knowledge and technologies, trustfulness and security, and how they work, also relevant for other sectors. So the data sharing, as it has been shared by other rooms, it is a real problem to face. Then, as I said, the different legal frameworks in different countries, as well as other inputs and language barriers, should be faced by interoperable solutions. Then the precision farming may not be required by small-scale farmers, but better farming using data would be useful for them. That's a big difference.
So that is that just a word play, or is it really a different approach?
The idea is that usually precision farming tries to address differences in the field, in a particular field. Mm-hmm. Why not we go in a less resolution? Just, for example, face this differences by by field. Well, in one field, I apply one I don't know, dose for fertilization, for example, and another for another, or just getting information from the manual, which is then the real quantity of nutrients, and adapt. Just make a step between the precision farming and the current technology.
Okay, thanks. From precision farming to better farming.
Yes. And then finally, access to advisory systems and people that can, an investment on new machines, technologies is a little bit more difficult and expensive for small farmers to get access to these kind of technologies and services, while the reality is that they may need more detailed data. So because for the size of the management, it is relatively easy to manage a field of 10 hectares of wet, but it is more difficult to manage, for example, using Sentinel data, a field of 1 hectare. And then finally, to finish, this kind of solutions should include cooperative approaches to make them more available for them. That's all. And
thanks. Well, I think I see reactions already. Thanks. Very good report back, and this is perfect. Thanks, Joseph. And then we'll go to room 1 again. I know that Tom Kelly had some problems checking in the Zoom session. Can you wrap it up, Tom, before we go to the next part of the program, please? Welcome.
Yes, Albin. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We were talking about education, and the issue really that we addressed was around the design of suitable education programs for farmers and advisors. And I think people have already in many of the reports back mentioned some of the points that we have discussed in detail in the project. So I'm really going to just highlight, give you 3 highlights which came from the program. And the first one is that we have to be aware of how farmers learn, and farmers learn best from other farmers. And I think we need to be very careful that in the design of training or education interventions, that we bring it to the farmers level and put them center stage. And I think if it is in the field as well, in terms of where they are most comfortable on visiting other farms, on demonstrations, etc. And this has also been shown in some projects around adoption of digital technologies. And I suppose advisors' role within that is to facilitate that learning where they can with their own clients particularly. I think there's also a need to look at the wider situation of how farmers learn, and farmers are influenced obviously by society and by immediate family. And I think very interesting discussion around designing education programs, or how to integrate digital technologies and the use of farm data into the curriculum of schools, and even starting at a very early age, the degree to which this could be incorporated within the school curriculum across many different subjects. So from science to geography, to many learning. There are many learning points or learning opportunities that young people have, and by doing it in school, they bring it home to the family. So, and the third really point was based around advisors, and advisors respond very strongly to what farmers are looking for in terms of they provide services to their client base. And there is a digital divide within farm advisors, and I think they should be utilized more in this task of educating farmers. One of the major challenges here is that where farmers find themselves on this progression of digital technologies and in their own use of data. So they oftentimes, the things are changing so fast that farmers feel left behind and they give up. And this is a very sad situation. One of the experiences from COVID, on the other hand, is that farmers can make a huge leap forward in the use of digital technologies if they have to. So if there's no other choice, if you can't go to the market because of lockdown, then you will quickly learn how to do this on your phone. So that's the summary from our discussions. I would like to thank Inka and Zura for facilitating the meeting in a very professional way and with an excellent written report.
Thank you very much, Tom. Well, yeah, I've used the word amazing a couple of times this morning already, and I'm quite ready to do it again. But this is such a perfect start for the rest of this morning. I think I will ask Jürgen Vangeyte, you've all met him before this workshop, to help us after these excellent reports, looking back at what happened in the first breakout room yesterday morning. Jürgen, are you there?
You should be able to see me, but and already see my screen. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Well, maybe there's a delay. I don't see you yet, but it might also be me.
Yeah, but
there you are. Thanks.
It's more important that you see my screen than that you see me.
Yeah. No, there you are. Thanks.
Okay. We already are a little bit behind in time, so I will try to put some speed in it. What I will do is I will bring you the highlights or the summary of the discussions that were made in the breakout session about opportunities and challenges for farm data use. It's of course important to say that this is a summary of what the participants there brought together. If we look at the first questions that we addressed about awareness, it was very important to see that a lot of the participants said, yes, farmers are using the technology already, and there they made big progress in using also precision farming technology, but they're not enough aware yet about the data potential of this technology. But what is also really clear is that there is big differences, and that if we want to work on this, we need a tailored approach, because there are regional differences, there are age differences, there are differences in size of the farms, and differences in the sectors that we address. If farmers are aware of the data and they took that first step, then they get blocked in the fact that they are not enough supported yet on how to use it. So they say there are too many possibilities, too many different apps, it's too complex, and it becomes too difficult without support to work with that. So please look into simple visualization and keep it focused on the situation of the specific farmer on farm level. One that really comes out is everything what has to do with cost benefit, and several people said the cost is always much easier to make the cost clear than to make the benefit clear. These benefits are less tangible. Also, somebody clearly said, yeah, lowering the costs compared to more benefit. It has farmers have been for aging, lowering the cost, producing more with less, but we also need to look at it from the other side. We need to create more value, bring the benefit higher, and not only looking at extra revenues, but also non-monetary values like higher quality of life and other benefits that are not easily determined in money values. The importance here and the benefits also for automation, less paperwork and reduce of heavy labor was mentioned. And then again, communicate about this, communicate about the cost benefit, do it on farm level and be specific. And more than one person addressed it as, or more than one breakout room as one of the biggest challenges. If we then ask how far we are in interpreting this data, what is the role of advisors there and what can be done? It's clearly that people say that training the advisor is a huge step forward and the biggest benefit. Better to train the advisor than or focus on the advisors. There are already some great steps forwards, fully in line with what Tom just said. But at this page, we need to challenge our advisors to be constantly updated with the knowledge. The importance of peer-to-peer learning, also said by Tom, and where possible, try to explain to farmers the black box. Farmers don't like that, they don't understand why a certain advice comes out of the data, and there we need independent, objective advices. People were looking for incentives to motivate farmers to use data more, not real concrete solutions yet there, but something to think of maybe also today. And then the lack of integrations, too many different solutions, too many different platforms. Try to integrate them, make them work with the farm management systems, and again, keep it simple and smart. And finally, it's a statement: the decisions should not be made by a machine, but should be made by humans. We had the questions very quickly on which other actors could be interested in the data. There it were the usual suspects: retail, agribusinesses, governments and policy making, the paying agencies, bank and insurance, certification bodies. And the last two I want to specify because they were mentioned a lot: researchers and consumers. Farmers are waiting or are interested in consumer feedback data. And then to remind you that today we were looking into solutions, I will end with the list of challenges that farmers are still facing. Connectivity in rural areas was mentioned. Some regulations about the timing, for instance, when you can put manure or slurry can work against certain of the advice that come out of the data. The lack of educated labor, the difficulties to do the investments, a lack of protection of the data and control of the data readiness that is not yet there, as it was discussed earlier in one of the open space discussions. And I like the last ones from somebody, and he was supported by more than one person, saying we need less ITers, more agronomists. And then with that message, I send you off to the next breakout rooms, and I give the word back to Alvin.
Am I back? I'm almost back. Thanks, Jürgen. This was a great wrap up of what happened, and it also connects so well to the reports we got back from the afternoon sessions. Yeah, breakout rooms. You were quite right. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put the work in workshop, and I hope there's a bit of fun there as well. Looking back at these reports, I think something happened. Something extra has to happen as well this morning. We sketched the context, the state of play of farm data and how it can benefit farms. We have named the issues, we've explored the current projects, initiatives, and we've touched on collaboration. I see that people already are saying that you did a great summary, Jürgen, in the chat. Next up, workshop, breakout rooms. We're going to put you in, I think it will be 8 different meeting rooms again, and this time you will not have to choose. We've tried to make a sort of even distribution. We know one of the first slides of the presentation of yesterday showed who is in this meeting, who are the participants, and we are trying to spread out the types of participants a little bit over these 8 rooms so that we'll get a very level playing field there. So this morning, we'll concentrate on how can data solutions support farmers on farm to enhance their farm performance. We have got all the ingredients already. We have heard many of the ingredients, and ingredients are sometimes barriers, but I hope that ingredients are also solutions and needs to move forward. That's what we will be talking about. That's what you will be talking about. These 8 meeting rooms are facilitated by our team, and notes will be taken as well. So it is very convenient. Talking about convenient, there will be a convenience break somewhere in between, a coffee break, but you have to negotiate that with your facilitator. The questions that are going to be tackled in these different meeting rooms are will be presented to you there. The rest is something we know already. Questions in the chat. There will be, the plenary will be open still. If in case you get lost, we will try to get with the tech team to get you in the right room. I hope to see you all back at 11:40 for wrapping up this workshop. Enjoy the discussions, and see you back in a bit. From what I heard, we again had very good and relevant discussions this morning. And I can imagine that you are almost ready to say, this is all we wanted to say. Let's wrap it up. Let's close the meeting, and we're looking forward to the proceedings and maybe sharing the video on the YouTube channel. But we are going to wrap it up soon. And I am happy we are at the point where we are right now, because I think we made progress. But we need to share that progress. We have been talking in 8 meeting rooms, and I am going to call the, well, let's call them reporters from these 8 meeting rooms and ask them to quickly, shortly, concisely share a little bit of what went on this morning. I hope that's okay with you. And now I will call room 1, and I think Bianca Pustella will report back from that room. Is that correct?
Yes, it's me.
Bianca.
Hello everyone.
Hmm.
So the 3 main highlights that my group talk about were the trust in the organization that provide the data with the organization that use the data. So also the trust in the data itself, it's really important. The topic of trusting came from a lot of questions. The second one is the environmental sustainability, monitoring farm systems, as well as environmental indexes, as farmers can have a real measurement of their impacts on the 3 levels of sustainability, that is environmental, economical, and social. And then the third and last one is the 2-way flow data in the food chain world. So from the consumer's point of view and also from the supply chain point of view. Yes, so the main highlights were these three ones, and we talk about also both the education sector, that is really important to gain the trust of the farmers and the trust in the data.
Thank you, Bianca. That's a perfect roundup, I think. I'm curious to see whether your points are coming back in the other rooms as well, because, well, we are overlapping here and there, and I'm expecting to see the overlaps. Thanks, Bianca. Shall we go to room 2, which is done by Adrian Kenneth-Smith? Are you there, Adrian?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Bianca.
Okay, so we had quite a discussion on the following questions. Yeah, we had a few debates as well, which we managed to. I think it's because we was coming from different, obviously different countries, etc. So what we've got here, the first question was, what would be a useful data-related solution for the farmers? So we looked at technology should be understandable for farmers and readable. Irrigation management system and tools, sensors of identifiable biomass and growth indexes. These were just examples we used. It was important to train farmers to give them the theoretical inputs on how to read and interpret the data. The second question we worked on was, can data cooperatives bring more effective solutions, and how? Yes, it can. And we also talked about demo farms, help to discover and promote the wide applications of agri innovation. Better to trust professional companies to collect and share data, but not the cooperatives. Data collected and interpretation matters. We moved on to question 3. Can we build sustainable businesses models based on data? In the long term, the farm business models can be sustainable. But you've got to build confidence in a group of farmers while sharing the data to reach their end goal, which is profits, and hybrid business models help to reach farming sustainability. What we did find was farmers are not collaborating with researchers. This potentially could be that there's a language barrier gap of understanding what the researchers are saying. And we talked about taking it to the farmers and making it plain and simple, either be through visual or using a third party like the farm advisors to interpret the data. Next question was, what other actions should play a role to make these solutions a success? We said traceability, data helps to enhance farm sustainability. Whatever business transaction it is important to have all the data and shared electronically. It will create value transformations in the chain. Cooperative leadership is a key actor and should pay independently in the chain, as well as food processors, transportation companies, and input suppliers, etc. And then the highlights question, the last question was highlights possible knowledge gaps and further needs in terms of research or practical application. Knowledge gaps with levy boards. So in the UK, we use farmers pay into levies, and from those levies, they get out of it research data. They also get open farm days where demonstration farms, so everything they put into on that. Knowledgeable farmer advisors, data interpreters. So basically bringing farmers, these, again, we have extension officers who deliver this to farms. Different ways of teaching and learning, and digital tools and skills. The last and the main highlights we use, and there was 5 of them, and we use a useful data related solutions need to have clear data inputs and clear data service outputs that are aligned to user needs, to provide and demand machine readable data with visualization. 3, system approach helps farmers act in one network where the data collection ensures trusted levy boards common data space of farmers. The value chain needs the data confirmation for farms to act sustainability, and controlling systems of databases must be trusted and must comply with the GDPR. And that's the end of our conversation.
Very useful list, I think you came up with, Adrian. Thank you very much for this reporting back and the work you did in your group. Then we are going to room 3. Thanks, Adrian, and I think Anna Martin is going to report back on room 3.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, so we go again through the same question, okay, than in the other groups, and we have a really good debate between all of us. We give good examples from the different countries that, well, we are a Spanish majority in the group, but there is other countries who give their examples and opinions. So I will go directly through the 3 main highlights. The first one is the key role again of the advisors, okay, and the demonstration sites or presentation of the solutions. Here we agree all that the role of advisors presenting what are the benefits of these new tools and technologies is key, okay. Key factor in data interpretation and innovation implementation support. Again, the role of the advisor, including identification the farmer needs, is not we are not trying to offer all the solution to all the farmers. Each farmer has a special solution, and here the advisor and the knowledge of the farms and the growers is key for this implementation. The second highlight is we agree that data is basis for future sustainable farming through the grower point of view, because to measure all the to have information from the practice in the farm to benchmark with other growers and with other regions is key to identify if your business can be more sustainable or not. And from the point of view of the consumers and retailers, because they have already information, they are demanding. So this data is key to push all this business to make it more sustainable. And the third one is we agreed that the data need to be useful and make sense for the farmer. If this data is not make sense or is not useful for improve the farmer life, is not going to be used. So in this sense, this data need to respond the farmer questions and the farmer needs.
Great set of recommendations. Anna, thank you very much. Over to room 4, where Rafael Gonzalez will report. Calling Rafael, are you there?
Thank you, Alvin. First of all, I don't know if we have enough time. If not, I will go directly to the highlights.
Let me see. Well, go to the highlights, and if there's one thing you would like to take out a little bit further, do that, please. Thanks.
Okay, so I will go directly to the highlights. First of all, I would like to thank all the facilitators and the members of the EIP-AGRI, the participation in the group, and also the other members of different countries. I don't remember the name, but we at the last we were lack of time, so we have been discussing a lot. Anyway, the 3 main highlights were first, if we have good data, they are of high quality, accessible, and interoperable. We use them in a correct way with the correct algorithms, and we apply them in a proper way. We can improve farm performance based on data solution. This is something easy to say, but it's difficult to get to apply. The second highlights got a huge opportunity out there to say that data sharing standards. It could be compulsory, but also it could be necessary to assign an extra budget for that. And finally, applying data is a process. It takes time to get transparency and money to be implemented. And that was the 3 highlights. If you want to comment some of the questions, I can go on them.
No, I think we're all right. I think this is good for now. Then we'll rush towards the next 4 rooms, and I think we'll make it on time. Thank you very much, Rafael. And then for room 5, it's Hubert. Please, can you call back?
I try.
Okay, yeah, there you are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have had a very fruitful discussion, and thank you very much for the facilitators. And I would like to change my concept, not to repeat anything all again, just to have some aspects, to say not to highlight some aspects. So starting, useful data. What are useful data? Useful data can increase competition, and in the sense in the production area, or intangible to fit to the preferences of consumers and retailers. So that's a little bit mention this useful data, and we can solve it in a general speaking, and to jump in really to point out how to use optimized fertilizing and optimized pesticides also. That's in this sense. Let's go to question 2, comparatives, cooperatives. So it's the main issue to give access to data, not always to stretch to coming from the scratch, and to do it again and again. Cooperatives is an opportunity, find solution just for small farmers, and to bring data from different areas together. For example, environmental aspects, production aspects, and social aspects, and so to have a wider range of information in the opportunity of cooperatives. And the third would be we build sustainable business models. Yes, surely a clear yes. However, how to handle it? There's a broad range of issues to say we have to bear in mind economical aspects, environmental aspects, social aspects, We have to take in mind the generation situation on the farm. Will we be successful in the next generation on the farm or not? All these aspects we have to take in mind. And then to go on, how can we, what other actors? So that was in addition to all mentioned, it was of interest to say, okay, we have the advisors, as Jürgen pointed out in all the discussion to solve the problems. However, we have to differentiate not only the economists, the agronomists, for example, social advisors, just the situation on taking the situation on the farm. It's advisors clear, however, different aspects from different disciplines I would like to mention at this stage of our presentation here. And something else, it's the problem, we need facilitators. I would say it in the sense, or I mentioned in our discussion, we need event managers. And so there was this, I suppose, a beautiful example from Scandinavia or Latvia, I don't know, in that region, to say we have to show in the events the opportunity, what the farmers are doing, what the opportunity, what the farmers are providing for the society. So, and that's the reason we have to do something in general. We actors, we need something out of range. There was an example from US, yes, to use social media with TikTok. So they were suddenly in, the farmer were sexy, to say, in this area with videos and TikTok. That
so now you know what you all should be doing.
Yeah, it's just, this was our discussion with other actors. It's only in addition what we all heard in this sense. So it's not something that, and something else, I will not read all the list what we have done. It's just an education, difficult to use the tools and so on. However, there is something we have to more to investigate what's going on, what happens. And so the question, there are 100 farmers in the Netherlands and looking for a solution. So there can be in a special one, in a traditional way. And for example, all around we have across all countries, we have smart agri hubs, this Horizon project. And we have digital innovation hubs. And the digital innovation hubs have this interest to make the transfer of all the digitalization and to support all the players in the system. So it's to find a solution for groups. And so sometimes
that's
it's
a valuable
not only
recommendation
of money, it's sometimes to bring together who is providing the information and who has the needs and who has the problem. So that was for point 6, in addition to all the issues. For example, Smart Agri Hubs is providing issues and to have a new thinking of digital innovation hubs.
Noted, Hubert. Thank you very much. I think we're all surprised by the diversity of the discussions and the points that came out of the discussions. Thank you very much. And then we'll go quickly to room 6. John, will you update us on what happened there?
Thank you very much. I'm going to try not to be repetitive. I do want to thank Andres and Elizabeth for facilitating the notes.
It's all interesting, but yeah, we are pressed.
Can I say, in answering the initial question, how can data solutions support farmers? There was no shortage of great ideas, from using weather stations to control nutrient application, controlling crop pests, controlling livestock diseases, optimizing yields, driving soil health and fertility, improving water quality, improving biodiversity, measuring carbon stocks, changing carbon stocks, benchmarking, baselining. There was no want of uses for data to improve farmers. I want to focus on 4 highlights. Everyone's talked about the use of cooperatives to build trust. We extended that to look at public-private partnerships. Certainly in Ireland, we have 2 or 3 really good examples ICBF are very good at improving livestock genetics. It's a public-private partnership, and we've seen great genetic improvement of animals. Water catchments, actually working with your local authorities that you do soil improvement, improve water quality in a water catchment, all done through public-private partnerships. And those seem to be able to build trust better. Looking then along the supply chain, we felt that everybody within the supply chain needed to be involved, and that the information created was not only about helping farmers, but it was helping optimize the supply chain and also using to improve the reputation of our industry. Because for the first time, we've got hard data about where we are, we've got hard data about the journey we're on, and actually using it to engage with consumers and regulators that we're putting our house in order. So data wasn't just for farmers, but absolutely had an end goal to help the reputation of the industry we're in. Our next big issue was about scaling up. You know, we're at the infancy of this journey, certainly looking to take this over millions of hectares. You need really smart digital platforms that can cope with that quantity of data. You know, and then can we invest in artificial intelligence to do the heavy lifting of the analysis, but still human quality control in there to actually help us as we scale up the application and use of data to improve our decision making. And lastly, still a barrier out there is the technological gap of communication, digital communication, not just about broadband, but 5G, that actually sensors to tractors, sensors in fields. You know, there are still many parts of rural areas. You know, rolling out of 5G has been focused on urban areas, yet the sensors we're using need great connectivity, great speed, and we still have got technical barriers to actually using this data to get, you know, precise management of our landscape.
That's a great wrap up, John. Again, it's touching the other topics and then still different. Thanks, John. Can we go to room 7, Anna Karin?
Yes, I will present the 3 highlights from our discussion.
Great.
So the first one is that there's a differentiation between what data is useful for different size farmers, and that data should provide advice on a different scale and individual needs. The second is that we have the definition of sustainability. So if we define what we measure, we can use the data to enhance farm sustainability and we can benchmark. The last one was it needs to be a better visualization of data. So data needs to be easy to access and use. And there's sometimes missing tools and data for small scale farmers. And also education on digitalization is needed both for farmers and advisors. So that was a short summary from our group.
That's a great short summary, Anna. Thank you very much. Then we go to the last room. Room 8, Valentino, are you there, please?
Here I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, so we had an amazing discussion in our group, many overlaps with the latest presentation. So I will just go to our conclusion. We started from a very specific point. I mean, it's impossible to find specific general solution for very specific needs and very specific farm. But of course, the solution need to be developed and carry on field more than farm itself, because each field has different problems and different needs. However, we do think that cooperatives can generate a huge impact on the use of such data, and something that came out that what we see as very relevant as general data for farmers and from farm is generally soil data and weather data. More than weather data is the information that we get can get out of weather data, such as pest and disease management. These are a typical example of data that manage at an aggregate level, so as cooperative, can generate a bigger result, much more valuable information for the farm itself. We had in our group some great examples of very detailed data collection in Iceland, if I'm not wrong about this. However, the problem is that these data are not put in a system. We already have a great number of data generated and great number collected by private companies or by government or firms. However, the problem is that these data don't come to an open platform. What really is needed is a creation of information share all through the value chain. So in order to make the precision farming or the innovation in farming more profitable for farmers, it is important to inform the final consumer. It is important such information get to the final consumer, so the final consumer can recognize a higher price for products that are created in a more sustainable way, in a better way, or just have a better quality. So it's very important that these huge amount of data don't die in specific places like private firms, but they need to be integrated. The integration is what is really missed in the information, in the data. So the actor that should play this role has to be, of course, the public. The regulators need to somehow force private firms and even private company and farmers to share all the data available on a common platform. So we will all be able to make a greater value out of this data. If on the huge amount of data, if these data are shared, we can definitely get some more refined information. We can give we can deliver better information and better services to the farm themselves. And last but not least, we can really move to the aggregation of data and use of artificial intelligence out of it. So this was some of the great topic who came out of our group. I really want to thank all the participants, and I can stop the presentation here if you agree.
I very much agree, although I would love to discuss more points with you, but we have to continue. Thanks, Valentino. This was a great wrap-up of the discussion you had. And again, in the chat, I see a great appreciation for all the feedback and all the discussions that you had this morning. It's almost 12 o'clock. It has been 12 o'clock. It's almost the end of the meeting, but we will not let you go yet. There's one thing we want to do before the final remarks will be made. What we want to do is give you the opportunity to give us a little bit of feedback. This is one of the first large workshops that the EIP-AGRI support facility has organized, and we have to learn from this as well. What went well, what could be improved in the next time. So we will do a short evaluation. We will present you, and I think this works perfectly in Zoom. We will present you with a question, a couple of options to answer, from good to be improved. And you get a couple of seconds to answer, and then you'll get the outcome, and we will not discuss or question the outcome. So please give us your feedback from now on, if tech is ready. Yes, there it is. Question 1. Do you think the cases presented were relevant and interesting for you? 3 answers possible. React quick and intuitively. I have to react myself as well, I think. Are all the answers in? Oh, this looks good. And even if it wouldn't look good, we would still have something to talk about. So I say thank you very much for this input. There will be a few questions more. Please bear with us. Next one coming up soon. There it is. Did you discover interesting details about the role of different stakeholders on farm data? Please make your choice. I'm sure you will be able to quickly go through this. And all the answers are all right, obviously. Did we get the answers in? Looks okay. From a little to yes, very much. Very good. Thank you very much. There's 2 more questions to come. This goes quicker, but this is very useful. Question 3. Do you think that the project market and open space sessions we did yesterday offered you the possibility to exchange with the other participants on best practices? Choose one of 3. Few seconds, and then we'll show you the outcomes of this one and then the last one. That works well. Diverse image, I think that's okay. Thank you very much for that input. Last question coming up soon. Overall, question 4. Are you satisfied with the format and organization of the workshop? And also here, if you have the feeling, well, this really could be improved, put it in chat or email the organization. You know how to find us, because this is what we learn from, and we have to do. We have to improve. Okay, and again, if there's any specifics that you would like to share, do that, because we will listen to that, obviously. Thank you very much for this input. We're almost done for today, almost done for 1.5 days. Now it's up to Jürgen Vangeyte to make some concluding remarks, and then we're almost ready. Jürgen, this is
Yes.
an interesting task, but I trust you will make
if I remember well, I only have 1 or 2 minutes to do so, and there was already, I think, a very nice list just in front of me from all the rooms. So
yeah.
we got the evaluation already in, so I can't bore people anymore with saying, but okay. So three things actually that I want to talk about. I think first of all, on a general level, we were able to bring an enormous collection of initiatives together. Some very to the point, maybe some a little bit less to the point, but we had a very nice balanced heterogeneity, overall different stakeholders and overall different types of projects that we had there. And that allowed us to make a huge list, and it will be very nice to write a report about that, about all the good practices and all the insights that we got on the different stakeholders. And then tapping into that huge source of information, actually, we first worked on the opportunities and the challenges. And there, continuing on what I said this morning, it's clear that the awareness still needs a further push, and that everybody stretches on doing a tailored approach there. So please take into account the regional approach, the ages, the size of the farms, and also the sector. And today somebody added something extra: go down to the field level. Some of the feedback was because even the fields are specific. It was very clear that complexity is a big challenge still, and the biggest one stays for me on number 1, the cost benefit, but also closely followed by the challenges to invest by farmers in this technology and the pending issue of trust. Another challenge mentioned, a very challenging one, was how to monetize the data once or even several times. So that's for the challenges. On the opportunities, we have a tremendous list of ways how farmers can save time. That was very important, save time or save money using the data available, and to look into the more the less tangible actually possibilities of creating more sustainability. On the question of today, how can data solutions support farmers and enhance farm performances and needs? There were also some clear outcomes. I heard a lot in the different breakout groups, the possibility to use data or the question to create more transparency and traceability, and to also make the benefits more clear. And then going back to my opening presentation to the 3 levels of technology, business, and people. On the technology, I think the message is extremely clear. Keep it simple, keep it easy, make data interoperable, accessible, understandable, integratable, and in the end, very useful. And I think, okay, I'm from the IT engineering side, but that creates a huge list of interesting things when we would be start building this agricultural federated data space. So I think this group clearly stated how these data spaces should look like. And then on the business side, there were some interesting proposals to take the farmer into new business modeling, switches to services to cover for this investment challenges. And in the end, the most important, the people. The people need more training and more skills. And there, everybody agrees on the role of advisors and of demonstration, but also very nice to see on teaching. And we also seem to agree that there is a role for data cooperatives. Some people propose new data cooperatives, other people see a way to work with existing cooperatives and give them new challenges, and maybe also to involve private there and go to public-private partnerships and look into the roles of digital innovation hubs. Maybe as my final conclusion, I think today we learned the huge potential that data gives to empower farmers and to put them in control, to increase their farmer performance and to get as much benefits towards the farmer as possible. I think that would be my concluding line.
I think we will all be very happy with these concluding lines, Jürgen. I saw some nodding in the chat to support your conclusions. That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Jürgen. Some more closing remarks, and then the practicalities why I say goodbye to everyone. And those closing remarks will come from Nicola, Britta, Holsten, DG Agri, Deputy Head of the Unit Research and Innovation. Please, Nicola, what are your concluding remarks?
Thank you very much. So difficult to say because Jürgen already concluded so perfectly. So just to remind you, we started 1.5 days ago with more than 100 people from 28 countries. And I think this is already a great success as such. But if I may compliment Jürgen and look a little bit at a greater context, data collection, meaning to observe the nature, has a great tradition. So when you look at our early days, when our ancestors starting farming, they looked at the nature, they tried to record certain events, and they tried to forecast the success of the harvest. So think of the Egyptians observing the Nile, or when you think of the Christian church calendar and it's linked to certain harvest or planting activities. So this is really part of our culture. And indeed, we might have to sell it a little bit better to our fellow, how can I say, to our fellow mates in the society. And that was, I think, one of the takeaways when it was said that maybe we have to use TikTok and other channels. But also coming back to my picture of the ancient days, these forecasting activities, they were often considered as magic, and they were reserved to a closed circle of the society, and knowledge sharing was really not an issue at those days. And when you think of forecasting activities and women, I mean, these activities were not always healthy, and I think you know what I mean. So luckily there we have really moved on, but still there still seem to be some similar issues, and that is sharing the data, and the trust was mentioned, the ownership of the data, and also the standardization of the data and its link to research. So one of the tools to overcome this is clearly an event like this one, where we really meet across Europe and across professions. So I really appreciated our fruitful discussions in the breakout sessions, both yesterday and today, where we discussed the opportunities and challenges regarding farm data used today. And more concretely, we also reflected how data solution can support farmers to enhance the farm performance, but also how they can better serve the society concerning protection of the nature, which is of great concern. So I think we had really a good insights of various types of products and different programs and all kinds of initiatives. So I must say I really appreciate it, and I think we had great 1.5 days together. And as I think, to come back to my picture, there is still a bit of magic in this, because somehow we managed to be close and exchange our ideas, despite we were really physically in far distance from each other. So in particular, on behalf of my Agri colleagues, I hope that every one of you took home great ideas, solution and contacts for possible further collaboration. And we hope that you really enjoyed this event. And our thanks go to the EIP support facility, which really facilitated this great event. They did a marvelous job during the workshop, but also in the very intensive preparatory work in the last month. So thank you for the excellent technical support. And I really hope that we will have even more magic moments together next year in other events, and then hopefully we can meet physically. So thank you very much, and please stay healthy. And I also wish you a nice Christmas season already.
Thank you, Nicola, for that wrap up and these inspiring words, bringing a bit of magic back to farm data exchange and well, also European exchange, like we've been doing in the last 1.5 days in this workshop. Thank you very much for that. Then it's for me to close with a couple of practicalities, and then we are waving goodbye. So simple. Like Jürgen already touched upon, a report will be written, well, putting down the many conclusions that we've come up with in the last days. The plenary parts, as you know, have been recorded and will be shared on our YouTube channel. We will send you an email with screenshots, conclusions, links to your YouTube channel, etc. We know how to find you, and you know how to find us. Look at the shared slide there for the main links. Staying in touch. Talking about staying in touch, if you have upcoming activities or highlights in the field of farm data, please share that with us. That's what EIP-AGRI does. Share it with us, so we can put events on the website calendar, and we can of course share events or outcomes in the EIP-AGRI newsletter. That's what we do, and that's what it's a logical follow-up to this workshop. Then it's my turn to thank everyone for their participation and intense work. I think we came up with something beautiful. Thank you also to the of course the facilitation team, but last but not least the technical team that made this possible and did a marvelous job in being flexible and supporting us. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you soon live as well, and happy Christmas holidays already. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, everybody.
In alternativa, la corretta motoristica richiesta dai servizi. Per i vaccini non è necessaria la richiesta del medico. Attraverso